Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Buffalo Roundup, your podcast home for all things VHS Buffalo athletics. Of course, it's made by the Buffalo, for the Buffalo.
And we're the Buffalo.
And we are the Buffalo. And speaking of us, I'm Cody Hills, pleased to be joined alongside, of course, my broadcast partner, Marty Zuro. And Marty, we are full throttle, full speed, and I wrote on my notes, full any other action word that can be described the pace at which the fall sports are taking off here in Middleton.
Yeah, I'll have to get you a thesaurus over there to keep looking at adverbs and action verbs and all of that. It's been nonstop for the past 2 weeks. It feels like it started earlier this year.
It does, albeit we say that, but we do actually, I think at least on our TVCS Live side of things, we don't have a home broadcasted live stream event this week, but that doesn't mean we've slowed down, of course. We got football Thursday night. We have, we had the swimming and diving on Tuesday. We had bowling here tonight, Wednesday, just an absolute, just full schedule, as you folks might imagine. And we're going to talk about all that and more. Of course, we got football. The Buffalo picked up a victory over Wildwood, 34-13 on the road. I guess I should say up at Death Valley now, just by habit. I almost said down in Wildwood, but back up in Wildwood, 34-13. They're off to a 1-0 start, and they'll be on the road this Thursday at Lecanto, so looking forward to that one.
The Buffalo needed a little bit to wake up, and then once they got going, there was no stopping them, and their size up front gave them a distinct advantage both on offense and defense, and here in Lecanto is pretty strong this year.
Yeah, plenty to get into there, and we'll discuss that. It was I don't want to say as good as a season opener as you can get because, of course, coaches are always going to want a little bit more, but I think the Buffalo are happy, and as we mentioned, they'll come into a matchup this Thursday against Lecanto. We'll also talk some volleyball. The Buffalo are 3-1 overall as it currently stands. Of course, they played last night, Tuesday night, against Forest, so check out the result there on athletics.tvcs.org. Get you up to date there. They'll play Thursday night. We got some other fall sports underway as well, so everything full and up to speed. We're going to touch on it all here briefly. All that and more on this edition of the Buffalo Roundup. And as a reminder that as you wait for each new edition of the Buffalo Roundup, you can find all you need to know about the Village's high school sports at any time on our athletics website. I just mentioned it, athletics.tvcs.org. That's where you're going to find everything you need to know, scores, schedules, rosters, other information devoted to the Buffalo athletic programs right at your fingertips, including each new episode of this podcast. And again, that website is athletics.tvcs.org.
And there's 200 stories on there to read right now.
200 big ones. All right, Marty, let's chat football. We teased to it a little bit. 34-13 win for the good guys over Wildwood. A little bit of worry about weather. Got past that. A little bit of worry about the game one jitters. Early drive stalled. Get past that. A little bit of adversity. And at the end of the day, I think 34-13, and I have on my note here, I think it could have been a lot worse for Wildwood anyway. I think the Buffalo left some points on the board. I think defensively it was a pretty good opening performance. As you mentioned in our intro, obviously I was there. You weren't able to make it out to that one, but short turnaround this week. And we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, 34-13 over the Wildcats. As you alluded to, Malik Williams ran extremely hard. I think up over 110 yards on over 20, I think it's 24 carries. So certainly getting his workload in. We saw last year at times you could feed him the ball and let him go. And if that offensive line is blocking, that seems to be a recipe for success for this Buffalo team.
Yeah, Malik Williams, a downhill lower, your shoulder back, likes to run between the tackles, but has enough of a burst of speed that if he gets to the outside and there's no one in front of him, he can take that ball all the way down the field. And, you know, the biggest problem with Wildwood over the past few years has been their size up front, and it really bit them this time. The Village is just up front, all five of their linemen over 250 pounds, which is the first time we've seen that in about 4 or 5 years now. And boy, did they just kind of shove them around, push them around. And I think for Malik, it's a great way to start your season, you know, averaging over 4 yards a carry in your week one game. That's kind of how, as a running back, you get into a role. And the other good news is that the passing attack has been opening up, which in turn opens up the run attack. It's kind of a and both situation. Coach Richard Pettis likes to run the ball to control the clock, but he also is understanding of the fact that you can't run the ball 100 times a game. You do have to pass the ball, and it's been more balanced. I think in the Fall Classic week, it was about 55-60% pass plays to run plays. That was just kind of how they had to play against Harmony. Obviously, that flipped quite a bit against Wildwood just because of the size advantage. Short week to get ready for Lecanto. Lecanto looking good this year. They're always pretty good in terms of size. There's a lot of big boys over there in Citrus County, and they often have the size up front to compete with most teams in Central Florida. So we'll see how the Buffalo match up against that. You were talking about the weather a little bit. I wonder how much that's going to factor in. Being a Thursday game, is there any incentive to them possibly weather looks bad, delay to Friday? And that's something that we'll have to keep an eye on, and our fans will have to keep an eye on our athletics website in case there's any changes there.
Yeah, by my understanding, that was scheduled Thursday instead of Friday. Just it sounded like just for the holiday weekend, right? Labor Day weekend coming up. Worried about folks being out of town, so I would assume Lecanto trying to get as much as they can at the gate. Don't blame them there, but yeah, 7:00 kickoff this Thursday night. Just touching on real quick, I'll get the correct stats here. Malik, 21 carries for 110 yards on the ground. Also had 3 catches for 37 yards. You mentioned the balance in the passing game. Patrick Harding, 12 of 23 for 127 yards, a touchdown through the air. He also added 58 rushing yards and a score on the ground. So if he can be a little bit more mobile even, I don't think that's something that maybe a lot of teams would have on their radar. His ability to get out of the pocket and make some plays. And I thought he looked a lot better. I thought, and I know in maybe some of the grading afterwards, there were some plays that he missed. I mentioned it, that I feel like it could have been a little bit worse. There was 2 or 3 plays I know where I think just maybe a throw to an opposite shoulder or maybe a route ran a little bit crisper, or if the offensive line can hold a block for another half second, I think you see another touchdown or 2 go up on the board, and now you're feeling really good headed week 1 into week 2. Also be remiss to mention, if we didn't mention, Xavier Walton had himself a game. He caught a 15-yard touchdown pass with 5 seconds to go in the first half. That gave the Villages a 13-6 lead and a little bit bigger boost of confidence heading into halftime. They come right out that first drive of the second half. Malik Williams, his second touchdown run of the night, and it's sort of in cruise control from there. But Xavier Walton had the touchdown catch there at the end of the first half, and then in the second half, he had an interception and a forced fumble as well. So big night out of number 1 on defense. Xavier Walton, give him his flowers there.
And that's something that defensive coordinator Meyer Geis has talked a lot about. He really likes Xavier Walton as a player, and he said the only thing that's been missing is the big play. He's athletic, he gets himself in position, he knows the game, and when it's time for a big play, it seemed like for a while there last year he just couldn't make it. Boy, this year having an interception right out of the gate, having a big touchdown reception ending the first half, just that big playability, having a player that's that X factor that does all the right things, but then also rewards himself and rewards the team with a big play at the end of it. That's huge for the Buffalo, and that's something that, honestly, they kind of been missing for the past 2-3 years. We keep going back on that, but, with schools the size of the Villages, it goes in cycles. You have all-time talent like Mac Harris graduating in 2020, now in his 5th season for the USF Bulls, starting at outside linebacker for them. And then, you have Ed Williams come through shortly after and being a big player along with Brandon Kennard. But then the past 2 years, it kind of slumped off a little bit. You see it. The size was down. The numbers were down. Talked about it a little bit, but they've got 60 kids that can go out there and play on Friday nights. And they cut the varsity roster down to 40 just to make sure that the JV has the numbers. But, hey, there's the 6-quarter rule still, and I'm sure as the season goes along and injuries do happen, either small injuries or bigger injuries, that's something that Coach Richard Pettis will use to his advantage, the numbers this year.
Yeah, I guess unfortunately this is the only week where we can't use the 6-quarter rules. We have a home JV game Thursday night at 6:00 against Umatilla. Come out for that one. If you don't want to make the drive over to Lecanto for a 7:00 kickoff on Thursday, this is the 11th meeting all time between Lecanto and the Villages. The Villages has won 9 of the previous 10 meetings. Got to go back to 2012 for the only Lecanto win in the series. Marty, let's wrap up with this. You mentioned the size Lecanto has. They do have a few newcomers to the roster, a couple transfers from some of those other Citrus County schools coming in, particularly on the line. You know, they're going to be big up front. They're going to try to play almost a game, I think, kind of like the Villages. They're going to want to try to control the tempo, control the line of scrimmage on both sides, and establish a run game. And it's going to kind of be a battle of wills, I think. All of that aside, though, I want to ask you, especially being member of our basketball coaching staff and in previous years as well, having some of this coaching experience. Let me ask you a little bit just about the short turnaround, because obviously going to be playing on a Thursday night. That's different. I asked Coach Pettis about it after the win Friday at Wildwood, and he said that their routine doesn't change. You're still going to get everything you need in, but the mindset has to. You have to set your internal clock to be ready to go 24 hours earlier. Football, basketball made preparation a little different, but there's probably some similarities in there. Talk to me a little bit, just real quick here, about how do you feel like the coaching staff does prepare these guys in going 24 hours earlier than anticipated?
I think it's a bit easier earlier in the season. The players' bodies haven't really accumulated some of the wear and tear over a long season yet. So they should be pretty fresh in terms of that. I think the biggest disadvantage to coaching staff like the football coaching staff is the preparation that goes into it. Something in a condensed week might not come up. Every game plan is perfect until you put it out on the field. And then you realize, hey, we had this great plan here, but we don't do well with it. And you just wonder if maybe having one less day to practice, one less day to install, if that kind of, almost quality control doesn't happen because there just isn't the time for it to develop. The second thing is it's really hard on your thinking position. So it's really hard on your quarterback, and it's really hard on your linebackers that control the defense. Your on-field coaches, basically, your on-field leaders. It's harder on them because they don't have the same time to prepare that they normally would. High IQ quarterbacks like Patrick Harding and high IQ linebackers like Malik Williams and Reese Davis, they have questions, right? They get told a game plan, they go out and practice, they do it, and then they're right in their coordinator's office going, hey, I saw this. What do we do about this? And just losing that day, you lose some of that. The good news is Lecanto's on the same schedule. It's not like they had any extra time to prepare. Game plan like the Villages, where in the past it's been very run heavy. Now it's a bit more 50-50. You can always go back towards that run heavy offense. It's a lot easier to scheme around that than the passing plays. And then defensively, really you're just adding on, right? You're taking what you used in the Wildwood Week 1 game and you're going, okay, what can I keep? Okay, here, what's 3 or 4 things I can add to it. You're not trying to rebuild an entire game plan because of the short time period. You see it in the NFL a lot. Those Thursday night games in the NFL are always really weird. It's not usually about the team that can prepare better. It's just usually about the team that's either better athletically or better talent-wise.
Yeah, and if hopefully you come out with a victory and then you get an extra day of rest to prepare for the home opener, which will be here September 6th against South Lake. First ever matchup there. Last note on football, and then we'll move on here. Tickets only available online for Citrus County athletic events. So you're either get them in advance, citrusschools.org, and if I'm on their main webpage now, if you just scroll down, they do have a little bit down the page, they have a athletic online tickets, click that, and then you get all the listing of Citrus schools, and you'll find the Lecanto VHS football on there, or you can purchase them there, but you're going to have to do it online, and hope that the good phone service signal towers are in your favor there, but only online entry there, online tickets.
I believe it's linked on our website too.
Yes, we will have it on
there. I put it on last night.
Okay.
I hope it links to the right place because of the ticketing system they use being a bit different. But
it's a little bit different than we're used to, but either way, you're going to get in there. Lecanto, 7 o'clock Thursday night. Be there, and if you don't want to make it there, like I said, do have a JV football game here for you at 6 o'clock against Umatilla here in Middleton.
But hey, Cody, you know what ticket link I know works?
Tell me, Marty. Tell the people, Marty.
The one for our annual athletic sports passes at GoFan. If you want to visit the Villages High School and you want to come to one of our athletic events, our 2024-2025 VHS annual athletics passes on sale now. It's good for all home regular season games. So no preseason classics, no playoffs, no special events, but all regular season games, JV and varsity and middle school even. You can just go to GoFan.co and type in the Villages in the search bar, or you can go to our athletics website and the ticketing drop down. There's a purchase VHS athletics. It is $150 for a premium pass, $100 for a base pass for adults, and students of the Villages Charter School can purchase a pass for $75, but must have their student ID to enter. Once again, gofan.co, type in the Villages, or visit our athletics website, athletics.tvcs.org, and click on the tickets link at the top.
All right, Marty, and let's chat some of these other fall sports, because we talked about how full speed it has been, and it has been everything and then some when it comes to the pace at which we've taken off as we knew it would. We'll start with volleyball. They are 3-1 currently. They played 0-3 Forest on Tuesday night. Of course, as I mentioned, check the results, athletics.tvcs.org. Check out their schedule. We'll have it updated there with the full results there for you. They have a road match on Thursday at St. Cloud down in Kissimmee. Down in that area. It should always be a tough matchup there. Marty, we've got to see volleyball a couple times here on the home floor in Middleton. What do we like so far out of the way Michelle Mormon's bunch is playing? And I tell you what, there's a lot of young players stepping up, and then players who might not be young grade-wise or school year-wise, might be a junior or senior, but they're into more expanded roles, and I think I like what we're seeing so far out of some of these new faces and new places for Buffalo volleyball.
It's just a complete wholesale programmatic change from, I don't even want to say last year, I want to say ever. And that's no offense to some of the volleyball teams that came through when I was in high school between 2008, 2012 that competed for district championships. But boy, Michelle Mormon just brings something to a program that it's collegiate. I don't know how else to explain that. It's just collegiate. It's a system. It works. There's a lot of player-led initiative. They do a lot of their own policing. The thing I'm most impressed about is, on game days, they have a walkthrough and the girls come out of the locker room and they lead themselves through their entire warm up. And then Michelle Mormon walks in the gym, talks with them, maybe walks them through a few things, goes through a formal warm up, but it's all player led up until she gets in there, and it's like clockwork. They come in there, they do their things. They're having fun, which is more important than you would think for female athletics. And it's probably something, maybe we'll tease a little bit here, but something that in the future I want us to dive into how female athletics is so important at the high school level. These girls are having a ton of fun together. You see it as they come on the court. You see it when they're off the court on campus. And, just that programmatic shift of mindset. The other thing is Coach Mormon is stern but loving. She tells them exactly what she expects and what she wants, but she is very graceful with helping them work through their mistakes. I've never seen her put a player down. I've never seen her disregard what a player thinks. And I think that's just, it helps the players buy in. And maybe that's where we can leave it off at today, is it helps them buy in. It helps them believe in what they're doing. And this team is on a mission. I don't know where the mission's going to take them. But I don't think a semifinal exit in the districts is in the books this year. I think hosting districts on their home court, I don't want to put it out there that it's district championship or bust, but boy, they're sure setting themselves up for a situation where if they aren't holding the district trophy on that Thursday or Friday night, they're going to be a little upset with how that with the season.
I totally agree. I think there's a lot of positive momentum. I don't want to rush this season away by any means because we're only 4 matches in, but gosh, like it feels like just the future of the program extremely bright, and we certainly don't want to wish away anything now, but I agree with you. I
mean that one loss is against 7A Lake Brantley, who's a top contender in the state, big school out of Orlando. So the one loss is against a team that you don't want to say you should lose to, but one that you're definitely not worried about losing to.
Yeah, and I know. I said 3-1. The Buffalo are actually 2-1. They had a preseason win. That's what I was chalking it up to.
We're recording this on the day of the game. You're just trying to predict what the record is going to be after tonight.
Maybe it could be 3-1 after an 0-3 visit to 0-3 Forest. Swimming and diving. So they got their 20th anniversary season off to a strong start. Made some history in the process. Last Thursday, of course, they are actually home as well tonight as we are recording this on Tuesday. So check our athletics website for a recap there. But Buffalo swept their season opener with Leesburg, 20th anniversary season, 20th time they've faced Leesburg, and the 20th time they have beat Leesburg, and they rolled. The boys 131-38 victory. The girls enjoyed a 128-24 victory. And Marty, we were privy to some history. Allie Klein and Sebastian Price became the first 2 divers in program history, leaping off the board here to open the meet in Middleton. I was not a swimmer. I watch Olympic swimming, so I don't want to get into X's and O's in swimming. I don't know if you do or not, but let me just ask you, just to be there for that moment, we know that the diving thing has been a thing for, 4 years now, since the idea of this campus was starting to be envisioned and created, having a pool, having a diving board. Just to finally see it come to fruition and to see athletes compete in it, score points in it for the Buffalo, and to have it here on campus, it was a really special moment.
It was. You could see it in Coach Jackie Mitchell and her lead assistant coach Heather Tomasian's eyes. There was a lot of emotion there, seeing all that work kind of culminate into something. They got their first swim meet last year in the senior night against Trinity Catholic here at home, but it kind of just felt like it was a taste of what could come. So, now having the swim meets on campus, having a dive program, which, by the way, I feel bad for those divers because everybody just watched Olympic level divers for 2 weeks at the end of July, beginning of August. And you see these 2 high school divers first year they're diving, and it's not like the Olympics at all, but it's the stepping stone that becomes that Olympic level.
Right.
They have to start somewhere, and this is where they start. And, it's, I couldn't do it. I know you can't do it.
Nope.
We both agreed. We cannot do what they did, and it's really cool to see it start off. And it's interesting. Probably we'll probably be talking here in the next couple of years about state champion level divers, because there's just not that many high school programs that have diving. Usually it's the schools that have their own pool, and I think we did the math, and we can count on both of our hands the schools that have their own dedicated swimming pool, either on campus or right next to campus. The rest are in community pools across the state of Florida. So I think it's a I think it's a great benefit, and it's another thing that the kids here get an opportunity in. And I don't know any of the technicalities of swimming, but I do know one thing. When you're seeing the green and gold of the Buffalo line up on the blocks and they're diving in, there's a good chance that 1, 2, and even 3 are probably going to be Buffalo finishing. And excited to watch another meet today as we're recording this. Once again, the results will be online. And I think it's all high hopes again. And Cody, you'd probably have to dig deep in the archives, but when was the last season that we did not win the district or finish district runner-up for boys and girls swimming?
Yeah.
It would probably be 15 plus years ago.
Yeah, I have to do some research there because Jackie Mitchell has this program humming, and I don't know how long she's going to continue to do it. Bless her if she wants to keep going for another 20 years. I don't think anyone's going to be...
I'm not getting in her way.
Nope, no one's going to get in her way or impede that progress because the program's certainly rolling. As I mentioned, the 2 huge victories open the season against Leesburg. And as I mentioned, one here today against Bellevue. We got to get Marty out to that actually and start setting some stuff up. So I'm going to quickly just run through a couple others as we are underway here on the fall sports calendar. Boys golf made some history of their own last Tuesday as they opened up the Shallow Creek Championship Golf Course here in Middleton for the first time competitively, and they dominated 147 to 155 over Forest. Forest, one of the better programs in the Tri-County Central Florida area. That 147 strokes as a team, the lowest in a 9-hole match in school history for the Buffalo. So not only do they open the course, but they sort of own it right away. Landon Howell shooting a 35 to lead the way.
It's the first time in program history we've had multiple golfers shoot in the 30s.
So it's the first time, actually, Marty's stealing my notes. First time the VHS foursome, all 4 have shot in the 40s. Landon Howell, 35, Braxton Williams, 36, Grady Logan, 37, Rhett Kirkland, 39. So a lot better 9-hole scores than you and I probably posted at our last golf outing recently, Marty.
I mean, I think combined, I know singularly... we both can shoot over 147 and 18 holes. So combined, I think we would be absolutely swept by our boys golf team.
Maybe we need to get out there for a practice and get some pointers from
You think they'll give us a few mulligans?
I hope so. They're going to return to action at, they're going to return to action September 3rd, and they'll be back here at Shallow Creek against Lake Mineola. And then our bowling teams, of course, they are underway as well over at AMF Leesburg Lanes in Leesburg. They got to enjoy victories. Each squad did during the first week of the season a week ago. The girls are currently 2-0. They, of course, our boys and girls teams, again, another event today. We talked about how quick this calendar is moving. They are today on Tuesday afternoon. They're in Claremont to take on East Ridge. But as it currently stands at the recording, the girls 2-0. 3-0 sweeps over Leesburg and Umatilla on Wednesday and Thursday of last week. And then the boys dropped the opener to Leesburg, but then swept Umatilla on Thursday. So they are back and at it. And they'll be home actually tomorrow, Wednesday afternoon at 3:30, Wednesday, August 28th, if you want to head over to Leesburg and watch them. So a lot going on, Marty, a lot to get to. As I mentioned, don't forget we have our first home varsity football game on September 6th. Get your tickets ahead of time for that if you want. GoFan.co. Mentioned the JV game here this Thursday. We have some of the off-campus stuff going on with bowling. And, of course, football at Lecanto, varsity this Thursday, 7 o'clock. Did I get everything? I think I got everything.
All of that and more on our website.
And more.
And on our social media.
And we caught a break. Cross country got rained out. Not a break for them, but at least for us on this podcast. They did get rained out Friday in Tampa. They're back in action this upcoming Saturday at Florida Horse Park. Actually, they have a week off. I apologize. A week off for the Labor Day weekend. September 7th, they're back in action, Florida Horse Park in Ocala. I think that's everybody, Marty.
I mean, the only other things we haven't mentioned is our wonderful VHS cheer and VHS Golden Girls programs. Not a lot of competitions here in the fall, but they're out there at every varsity football game and every JV football game, and it's great to have their support.
And shout out to Colt Campbell and the Buffalo Band. We got to go, Marty, but I'm going to throw this in here real quick. There was a moment, I believe it was in the third quarter of the football game. Wildwood had the ball right in front of our sideline, about the 30-yard line. The band's behind us, and they are playing, and I believe they were playing the YMCA or something, and it was loud, and I think Wildwood had a false start. Of course, in high school, the bands can play all throughout play. It's not like college. I think it was offensive line coach Jason Poplawski turned around to the band and said, play it again, play it again. And so they continued to play, and I think it clearly affected Wildwood. So shout out to Colt Campbell and the Buffalo Band. It sounded good. The drums were thumping, the horns were blasting. It sounded good, and look forward to seeing them here on some more game nights. That'll pretty much do it here. I think we've covered a lot. We'll be back, of course, with another episode next week. We mentioned all the events. Get to them. And if you need an update, again, athletics.tvcs.org. That's where you'll find all of our information and more. Thank you so much for listening for this edition of the Buffalo Roundup. For Marty Zero, I'm Cody Hills. Until next time,
Go Buffalo.